Has the Trumpian monarchy begun? Yesterday, Trump hinted at a third term. He was asked about it, and he didn't immediately discount it. He didn't immediately say, no way, no how. But you'd expect that from Donald Trump. He is a master at sucking up all the oxygen and always having the headlines be him. He's great at that. He's wonderful at that. My name is Brandon Fogal. This is Evolution. Let's get into it. But actually, before we do that, ushers, please lock the doors. Lock the doors. No one is leaving. If anyone is in here, no one's leaving until I got to raise $40,000 before anyone leaves this channel. April Fools. April Fools. I don't know if you've caught that. There was a viral video of a preacher, a pastor that said he locked the doors. He said, no one's leaving the congregation until I raise a $40,000 or whatever number he had out there. And if you're ever in that situation, I would leave. Even if they're locking the doors, I would still try to walk out. All right. But let's dive into the news of Trump is just sucking up the airwaves yesterday. And whether or not it's constitutional or not, he says something that's going to drive people wild. There's one little tidbit he says and we're going to take a look at exactly what he says, but there's a little nugget in there, and I'm going to leave it to you if you can pick up on it, what's going to drive people the wildest in what he says. But we're going to take a look at that real fast. All right, here's Donald Trump yesterday being asked by reporters whether he would consider a third term.
People are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a third term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that, but I have not looked into it. I want to do a fantastic job. We have 4 years, just about, almost close to 4 years.
Okay. So there he goes. He puts it out there, and I wondered if you all can pick up on that, what he said. He said, we don't know. He doesn't just immediately just discount it. He just says, we don't know. There's scholars looking into it. And is it constitutionally viable? And no matter how much of a Trump supporter I am, and I've been a Trump supporter from the beginning. I've been from the beginning. I wanted him to be president, and he wasn't as polarizing when he first came down that golden escalator. He wasn't as polarizing as he is now. But even then, I wanted him because of the things he was saying building up to his first presidential run. I wanted him to be president, but he knows how to get all the cameras constantly looking at him. He knows how to drive the headlines. He knows how to drive the narrative, and he knows what's going to drive people crazy. Now, whether this is constitutionally viable, looking at it, I would say, and hearing about scholars of the Constitution, that it is not. Apart from an amendment to the Constitution, this is not possible. And you could say people try to, because lawyers are good at, expanding that area of doubt, and trying to wiggle their way in there. Could anything happen? Anything could happen, somebody could try to find, the document is a living document. The Constitution is a living document. As anything, there was an original context, but, we can interpret it, for our day and age, but we do have to find out what the original authors meant and the things that they wrote. But based on what we have right now, I don't think it's really going to change, So they're saying, could he find a way of having Vance run and have Vance be the president and just hand it over to Trump so he serves out another term? Even that, I heard that it's not really possible. You can't, because to be a vice president, you have to be eligible to be president. And so could Trump next cycle, when the politics game really turns on, could he just kind of say, I'm going to sit back, let Vance do his thing, and really everybody knows that they're electing Trump because they know Vance is just going to hand it over to Trump to serve out that third term. Even that does not seem like it is really a credible possibility. But Trump, even knowing this, and I always think Trump, he knows everything that's happening. He knows what the reality is, but he also knows what's going to drive everyone crazy. His first presidential run, he basically took over $1 billion worth of free media footage and was able just to not even spend a penny and have his just face be out there and everybody constantly be talking about him. Because it doesn't matter how much you like someone, really. When someone's running for president, a lot of time it's just, you recognize the name, you recognize the person, everybody's not a political junkie and into every issue and what they're talking about the news. Most people don't do that. I would say 80% of the country is not even concerned whatsoever about politics. They don't care, They're not as dumb to vote just who their pop star, the person that they love, is going to vote for. People are, and I think we learned that from the last election. Even though the big mega stars out there were vehemently against President Trump, people are not as just hook, line, and sinker and drinking all the Kool-Aid of who they love as a singer or who they love as an actor or whoever is in Hollywood. They're not just going to just blindly follow what they believe. People are waking up. And as we have constant access to anything that's happening across the world at any given moment, because we do, by a phone we have in our hand, in our pocket, we can just open it up and see exactly what's happening. You have to have a little bit of wisdom to discern what's really going on, but everyone has access to the information. And Trump was always amazing. And no, you cannot discount him on this. You cannot just say he was stupid at the way he ran his campaign, because he was always in front of people. He was always the headlines. It doesn't matter when you're a polarizing figure. And this goes into the fact that, do you really need everyone to like you? I mean, even you personally in your life and what you're going through and what you have going on, the crew you run with, the daily life that you find yourself in and what you're going through. Do you really need everyone to like you? Is it the end of the world if everyone doesn't like you? I would rather have a couple people that love me than 1,000 people that like me. I would rather find who out there is really who I would want to go to battle with, who I would want to be in a foxhole with, who is really, got my back and who I got their back. So it's like, we don't need to be just like this fluff of just liking somebody and saying the right things. Who cares? I mean, who really cares? I don't want to be obnoxious about anything. And I don't think many people, there are some people that don't care that much, that they'll just be in your face. That goes into the wearing a MAGA hat, like, I would say go out there and wear a MAGA hat, but like, they made it such an evil thing that you're wearing a swastika on your head if you're wearing a MAGA hat. So it's like, find the people that love you and be who you are. That's the biggest thing I would say. Authenticity is what really is going to matter in the end. It is what really matters now. Don't bend over backwards. That's just like this corporate hoo-ha that we every day find ourselves in. Whatever you're in, it's just, you got to say whatever's right. You got to say whatever is the socially acceptable, as opposed to, if someone asks you, you don't need to be blurting out whatever you think. You can if you want. But if someone asks you what you really believe on something, who cares? Let them know. Be who you are to the core, to the fullest sense of the word. Don't be just someone that is just milquetoast. Be someone that is, I might repulse people, but I might get people that think the way that I think and care about the things that I care about to come alongside me and to be with me. Maybe that's not the best thing, to just gain a whole following and gain everybody's attention and make sure everybody loves you. But you're going to do, I would say you can do what Donald Trump did, and just be that polarizing figure that you're going to really weed out the ones that would turn on you at the drop of a hat, because people will just turn on you. And we found that you'll find that in your daily life. You will find that when the stuff hits the fan, you will find who your true friends are. You'll always find it. So saying Trump, is this the beginning of a monarchy? I would say it would have to be. It would have to be the beginning of a monarchy, because constitutionally, it doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. I don't think he can. Lawyers can do amazing things. And they, people might like a just rats as opposed to lawyers. Lawyers can be also pretty nasty, vicious dudes, but they're able to go into whatever's happening and just find out, how can I find a loophole? How can I find some gray area to make my argument stand? And they might be able to do something like that, nefarious, I wouldn't put it past lawyers, but I do stand on the Constitution. Whatever the Constitution says, let's get on board with it. Because the Constitution is what keeps us intact. It is the glue that holds the American people together. So let's not be too devoid of just drinking the Kool-Aid. And even if you love Trump, saying, hey, we can make him get him a third term, unless we're going to amend the Constitution, which is, always a possibility. I don't think it's likely, but I would say that is the only possibility that Trump could go into a third term legally. That's the only way he's going to serve a third term, because the way that it stands right now, unless he gets out the scepter and he declares, I am king, and I would not put it past Donald Trump to he just trolls everyone. He trolls everyone all the time. And that's why he draws people to him, and he draws other people that hate him to him, because they can't take their eyes off of him. He has definitely cooled down this term. I would say he's definitely cooled down. He's not as bombastic and just outlandish as in saying the things that he said, becoming president and even before his presidency, because he knew how to get attention. That's why everybody's always looking at him, because he's interesting, and he's going to say stuff that's going to piss you off, and he's going to say stuff that people get on board with and love. Both sides. You need hot air and cold air to start a tornado. You need both of that, So the people that just are breathing fire because they can't stand Trump, I think it's shifted a little bit. He's our president now. I think it's cooled a little bit because now people's attention is solely on Elon Musk, and he's now the evil man in the room. He's the person because he's the one that made it possible for Trump to legitimately become president again. Elon Musk, the tables have turned on Elon Musk. And the day of rage that we had this past weekend, I didn't hear much more about it, which is, I would say, credit to the Trump administration stepping in and squelching that whole everybody get on board and just set the whole nation on fire by burning Teslas and all that. I didn't hear much of it. There was still stuff that happened, but not as much as they wanted to build up and get going. So what do you all think? Do you think that Trump should run as president again? Do you think that is a viable option? I leave that to you. Apart from him becoming king, I don't see it as a viable option. Keep evolving and become the best version of you.